Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of As the World Churns with me, your co-host Danielle Moodie, along with my fabulous co-pilot in the apocalypse, Andy Levy. So today, oddly enough, we have good news to start out with, which we never get to start out anything with, which is by now you have heard about the mayoral primary win in New York City by Zohran Mamdani, the 33-year-old child of immigrants who was born in Uganda, who is part of the Democratic Socialist Party. And I was super excited, Andy, to vote for him in our ranked choice voting system here, where like I'm certain many New Yorkers, decided not to rank Andrew Cuomo at fucking all, because I think, oh, I don't really want to be a part of a party that says, well, they have sexual predators. Can't we have them too? And wanted to put, how much did they put behind Andrew Cuomo? $25 million for this race. But as it turns out, the people had more power. But right now, we have 4 months until the general election. And my God, the 9/11 Islamophobia is on fucking 200 at this point. And I know that it's going to get a lot worse. What say you, Andy?
It is, look, it is, and I know I shouldn't be at this point, but it still is unbelievable to me that just the overt and blatant racism that has been just sort of emboldened in the Republican Party. You know, we always say on this show, there's no more quiet part. They just say everything out loud. And for a lot of years, for decades at least, there were people on the right. There were a lot of code words that were used to cover up for racism. Things like law and order, which was
Yeah, that's a
obviously
good one.
well, that was code for, scary black people. And there were tons of those. They don't really exist anymore
Mm-mm.
because they just come right out and say that Zohran Mamdani, who is Muslim, should be deported, is a jihadi terrorist. We have people talking about how, this is 9/11 all over again. Donald Trump Jr., I believe, retweeted something that read, I'm old enough to remember when New Yorkers
Oh,
endured
yes.
9/11 instead of voting for it. Just an unbelievable amount of just pure, unadulterated Islamophobia, which is, let's be honest, is basically racism, particularly since, I mean, as you noted, Mamdani was born in Uganda, lived, I think, briefly in South Africa, maybe, and then came to New York as like a 7-year-old, and they are equating him with 9/11, which is stupid enough, obviously. But the fact is, like, the people who did 9/11 lived in Saudi Arabia, the good friends of the Trumps.
That and Mamdani was, what did we say? If you're doing the math, he was 10.
10? Yeah. Yeah. But he's not even from that region of the world. But obviously,
Correct.
none of this has anything to do with logic or reason. It's just, again, it's just straight out overt racism that they all know they don't suffer any consequences for, and they don't have to, wrap it up in code words and code terms. They can just come out and say it. He's a Muslim, therefore he's a jihadi, and therefore he hates Jews, and therefore, et cetera, down the line. And it's just, it is absolutely wild. And like I said at the top, Danielle, I know I shouldn't be surprised by this anymore because we've been seeing it for years. But man, this week I was reading this stuff, and everyone was worse than the last. And my jaw just kept dropping. The 9/11 imagery and the shit like that. And I was like, as cynical as I am, even I was like, man, this is really something.
But here's the thing for me too, is that while sure, I expect this type of shit from Republicans, what was more disgusting to me, Andy, is the fact that Andrew Cuomo's campaign put money into running anti-Muslim ads where they darkened his complexion and thickened his beard, where there was, literature going out in and around New York saying that Mamdani is anti-Semitic. Meanwhile, he was endorsed by his fellow mayoral candidate who is Jewish, Comptroller Brad Lander. And so for me, what I was heartened by, and I'll say this, is the fact that New York City did not fall for the fucking rope-a-dope, and I don't think that New York City is going to fall for the rope-a-dope. I think that when you look at the breakdown, and we'll learn more over the week as the all of the votes are counted, but when you look at the demographic breakdown of who went for Mamdani, which was pretty much everybody. But when you look at the age breakdown, the education breakdown, the wealth breakdown, like he captivated across,
Yeah.
right? Many different groups in many different areas, including, I think one of the graphs that I was seeing was just like even the folks on fucking Wall Street voted for him, right? Like that live in and around the
Yeah.
financial district, which if you're not from New York, is like where the wealthy and conservative moneyed people live. And so the fact is that I think that I at least want to believe, because this had been going on throughout the primary when he was
Yes.
an unknown, right? And New Yorkers still said, yeah, nah, we're good. So I think that what people are seeing and what these folks are not recognizing, Republicans and establishment Democrats, is that everyone is hip to their tricks, their racist tricks, and their Islamophobia, and the trying to stir people away from voting for a person that represents policies that could change their lives and make them better, and aren't going to fall for it. That is my hope, but we will see.
Yeah, and look, obviously I share that hope, and I was pleasant. I mean, we were texting election night, and we were all just really, really happy that Mamdani won, and that, at the same time, really, really happy that Cuomo didn't win. I was surprised. I thought Cuomo was going to win. I thought all the stuff that you mentioned was going to work more than it did. And I think part of that stems from having elderly Jewish relatives who absolutely bit on all of it, and who it became impossible for me to convince that Mamdani is not in fact anti-Semitic. So yeah, I am heartened by the fact that it ultimately didn't work. It still worked more than I would have liked it to. But again, I'm just, even now I'm reading the stuff. Vicky Palladino, who's a councilwoman here in New York City, Staten Island, I believe, she described Mamdani as a quote, known jihadi terrorist. Like,
Mhm.
you're a New York City councilwoman, and granted, you suck and you always have. And she's Carl Palladino's wife. And if you live in New York, you probably know who Carl Palladino is. Also, just a corrupt, hacky politician back in the day. But I'm with you. I think we'll be okay in November, but I'm still a little worried about it.
I mean, look, I was cynical in terms of his ability, not his ability, but I guess like how far the Cuomo name was going to carry. And because it is such a legacy name in this city and in this state, but color me pleasantly fucking surprised with like a bit of hope and joy this week that like I never get to have here. So, yay.
Yay.